Welcome everyone.
And it shatters
Welcome here to the Rancho Bernardo History Museum.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to ask everybody to put your cell phones on vibrate, as I remembered belatedly to do a few minutes ago. My name is Vincent Rossi. I'm the coordinator of the speaker series here for the Rancho Bernardo Historical Society. I'm happy to welcome you to this month's program. Let me just quickly remind you that next month, our next month's speaker on May the 12th will be Mr. David Toller, who's a member and a tribal councilman in the San Pasqual Band of Mission Indians, and he'll be discussing his new book, Blood of the Band, an Ipe Family Story. Family Story. That will be on May the 14th. And just to mention some upcoming programs, we're having a speaker from, I'm going to be speaking in June on the book Picturesque San Diego, a look back at the history of San Diego. And we'll also have a speaker in July from Los Californianos, and in August from the Midway Aircraft Carrier Museum. And we have more programs coming up. Stay tuned to our website for more information about that. I'd also want to remind you of our Pancake Festival, May the 30th in Webb Park. You can find out more about that on the website as well. Today's speaker is Mr. Jeff Swanger. I'm very happy to welcome him to talk about the early 20th century gem rush in San Diego County. And Jeff, as I learned when I was getting this program together, is a lifelong resident of San Diego County, and he spent part of his life in the construction industry building homes, some of the early homes in our community here of Rancho Bernardo, including the Bernardo Trails and Gatewoods neighborhoods. So he's well-versed in the development of our neighborhood, and as I've learned, he's well-versed in the history of gem mining, as well as being an owner of 3 current gem mines, the Pala Chief, Ocean View, and Elizabeth R. mines. We are very happy to welcome Mr. Jeff Swanger.
Good to be back here. My hometown, when we got out of high school, my dad worked for Harry Summers, vice president of Harry Summers when they were developing this community. And right when I got out of high school, about 1975, he quit Harry Summers and started his own company. And it was his buddy, so he sold him some lots, and we started building in the trails. We built about 20 of those homes up in the trails, the early ones. And we built the ones on the top of the hill at Gatewood Hill, where the water tank used to be. We built those homes too. We took down that water tank, as a matter of fact. That old rusty tank, that was kind of interesting taking it down. But my love has always been gem mining. I've always spent all my extra time underground at the gem mines up in Paula or Mesa Grande, both for about 35 years now. I'm in my 16th year at the Ocean View, which I acquired in 2000. And then I bought the Elizabeth R. about 5 years after that, and then about 5 years after that I bought the Pala Chief mine, which gives me the entirety of Chief Mountain, which is the prominent mountain just northeast of the Pala Casino. If you're standing up there, you look up on top of the hill, you'll see some big pine trees. That's my property right up there, and that's where we're mining. I have some flyers right there. We're open 3 days a week to the public. We're actually still mining, and it's very difficult. At the turn of the century, there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 mines in operation in San Diego, and really it was the world's source of colored gemstones from the years from about 1900 up until World War I. During those years, they produced a massive amount of colored stones in these mines. Most of it went to the Empress of China, who loved the pink tourmaline. And so she sent her buyers out here to buy all the pink tourmaline that they could produce. And they coveted it today. Even the Chinese tourists still come up to the mine and take their picture out in front of the mine and stuff. And we sell a lot of ours still goes to China. And the pink butterflies we make out of tourmaline, the Chinese buy about virtually every one we can produce, which is about 5,000 of those a year. We produce of these tourmaline pink butterflies, and we do them in gold. And so the Chinese are still our major buyers of those. They covet it just as much as jade. After the world market was pretty well flooded with colored stones right up around World War I. After World War I, there was a little bit of resurgence, mainly from the collecting from between World War I and World War II. The mines kind of got sputtering along again. Right after World War II ended, there was another little rush, and there was some production found up around in the Pala Chief mine right around then, a friend of mine, I knew the guy, he was an old guy, I got to know him. When I was coming into the business, he was an old guy then. He was a fascinating old guy. He found and cut gems and lived his whole life that way. His name was George Ashley. He lived out there at the bottom of the hill. There would be a lot of mines in operation again today because the gems have really gone up in value, but the paperwork and stuff is just so crushing. The guys just can't figure out how to do it. They want to mine, but they just can't figure out how to comply with, that's why the golf club factories and all these things got moved overseas, because you can move those, but I can't move my mountain. So I just have to put up with whatever they throw at me, and they throw the craziest stuff at me, it's just paperwork for them. And then they say, well, it's under the guise of mine safety. And so who's against mine safety, right? But the fact is we have a perfect safety record in 35 years, and that speaks for itself, in my opinion. That being said, it's like arguing with the wall. So that's the main reason that there's not a lot of gem mining going on today, because the prices are really high for these gems that we produce. I have a friend, some single gems from the county have been known to fetch like $25 million in that range for one single crystal. So there's some serious money in these pegmatites. We mine a series of pegmatites. You'll see them as you drive around San Diego out by Jacumba. You see those white streaks going across the mountain. Those are pegmatites. Up around Paula, you'll see them in the road cuts. They're ledges, they're pegmatite dikes, and they form a rock outcrop, and there's a lot of black tourmaline and mica in them. And Ramona has a bunch of pegmatite in Ramona. The Southern California Gem Belt goes from South Riverside County up around Hemet and Sage and Thomas Mountain, and up around even this side of Palm Springs there's some pegmatite. And then Paula's the epicenter, and Mesa Grande and Ramona, and then all the way actually into Mexico around Ensenada. There's even some pegmatites there. But the main ones the best ones are right here in North San Diego County. Produced hundreds of millions of dollars in gems over the years, hundreds of millions of dollars. It used to be a huge business, but they used to have cutting factories in downtown San Diego at the turn of the century, where they were just cutting the gems and shipping them all over the world. Aquamarines, tourmalines, morganites. A rare gem called kunzite, which I brought a couple examples of. We the last one I knew that found any of that was George Ashley in 1950, I think it was 55. He found some, and we got lucky and found some. We found the biggest, best ones ever found of that gem ever found in North America. And now we got some in the Smithsonian and the American Museum of Natural History, which is where kunzite started. When kunzite was first discovered at the Paula Chief Mine, it was an accident. They were looking for tourmaline for the Empress of China, and they started finding these odd purple crystals, but they were beautiful. They didn't know what they were, so they sent some samples to Tiffany's in New York City. They had the most prominent gemologist of his day, named Dr. George Kuntz, Frederick Kuntz, working there. And he took one look at it, and he decided it was a new stone unknown to the world. And so they got him out here quick to basically make a contract with them that gem will be all sold to Tiffany's. They had an exclusive on that gem. It only came from one place in the world, and that was the Paula Chief Mine. And it's a beautiful gem, and those things are in museums all over the world. But to think we found bigger and better than they found ever in history, that's why I do what I do right there. It's a treasure. I'm the kind of guy that if I lived in Florida, I'd probably be diving on wrecks. But since that's not really an option here, I like to mine for pegmatite. In the 16 years, we've put over a 1 mile of tunnel in that mountain, and we've gone down some 1,000 feet. And 1 mile of tunnel, and our tunnels are about half as big as this building. Our tunnels are 12 feet by 12 feet, basically. We drive bobcats, we drive heavy equipment in there. We have ventilation systems. We have diesel-powered fans that blow air in the mine. And we run 2 or 3 pieces of diesel equipment at a time underground. A little dump truck and some loaders. When we go in and blast, each blast produces about 50 tons of what we call muck. And we spend 1 day drilling and blasting, and 1 day or 2 days cleaning it all out. And we go 4 feet, for all that, we get 4 feet a tunnel. And then that costs probably $2,000 to put that 4 feet of tunnel in, all told, with explosives and wear and tear on the equipment, and then so oftentimes we don't find anything. So when we go again, we go again, and we go again. We can quickly burn, every time we find a big pocket, my wife says, "Are you happy now?" I say, "Yeah, I'm happy." Are we gonna quit mining? Is that what you want to know? No. So we'll find $1 million worth, and then we'll spend $1 million looking for the next one, It kind of goes like that. So I always have to see what's over the next hill. So you guys want to get rocking on this thing? We've got a little video. We're going to have to stop this thing kind of the hard way because we don't have a...
Ready?
That's the earliest known photo of the ledge. It's pegmatite. You can see that what I meant by these pegmatites that streak across the hill. Let me see that pointer. Where's that pointer?
Oh, I put it in.
Okay. This is my house on top of the mountain here. Up to the upper left is my house. These are some of the old tailing piles from the old days.
How many people do you have working for you?
Pardon me?
How many people are working for you?
I got about 12.
Am I supposed to hear that audio?
Yeah, it's... Hang on a minute. This is a tailing pile from an earlier operation. Okay, this is how we drill. We drill the pegmatite with these pneumatic drills. And that is a workout. It takes 2 men to run that thing. And the drill bit is 1 3/4 inches, and it's 4 feet long. And a lot of times we'll drill 30 to 40 of those holes to make a tunnel this wide. We may be looking for a little pocket here, but when we're putting in a tunnel, we'll drill 40 holes or so. And that takes all day. It is, no doubt about it, nasty work. Okay, so there we are loading some holes with some Emulex, it's a modern explosive that we use. And those yellow cords are the tunnel delays. Those give us a ½ a second delay between each hole. Very important if we want to move the rock the right way. We got to get it all moving. And so how we load the holes is very critical. And then how we sequence them. We get in there and snap these things together, and that's going to determine the firing order, which they're going to go off in. And that's going to really determine how well it breaks. And if you get this wrong, then you got a lot of problems, because you got to go in there and find live rounds that didn't go off, and that's no fun. And you got those are the top delays. So the top ones go, and then the bottom ones come off, and then that's the ones that throw the rock out. Okay, we find crystal-filled cavities in the rock. There's a green tourmaline. So we just go through hard rock until we find softer areas. That's a beautiful tourmaline specimen. This is where we need to be positive. That's Roland Reed. Okay, there's a kunzite right there. Pause it.
I'm sorry,
All right, right there.
I can't. Okay. You need
Okay.
to-
Okay, right there. Okay, you got that paused?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Now, what we're looking at is a gem pocket here, and we've washed it out, and these are all pieces of kunzite. And that thing right there is tens of thousands of dollars. We're getting some serious money for those big purple ones like that one, because the one knock on that gem is it's super beautiful, but a lot of times from around the world, and now it's found in several places in the world, and it can be photosensitive. So that's why it's called the evening stone. Women should take it out of their jewelry box, wear it in the evening, return it to the jewelry box, and not wear it in the sun. I wouldn't sunbathe in kunzite ever. Many gemstones are photosensitive, actually. Even amethyst can fade. So you gotta know how to proper care of a gemstone. That being said, this particular kunzite is proving to be super color stable. We've had it out of the ground 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it's holding its color. So the prices keep going up for our stuff, and it's super in demand because of that. And you can see how much material is in the pocket. These pockets can be 10 or 12 feet long, and we literally, over a period of about a year, we got like over 1 ton of this stuff out of the ground.
So when it's exposed like that, you just kind of pick it out?
Yeah, we get in there with even screwdrivers or even bamboo sticks and go in there and just try to expose them and pop them out, wrap them up. 'Cause some of them get sold as specimens to museums and stuff, and we don't want them chipped. But the broken shards, this stone has perfect cleavage, so what happens is it chips away over the years, and there's, around the bigger crystals, there's lots of broken shards. We try to get those and cut those into stones. And the big blades, even though it's funny, it's a funny thing. I'll get more for that stone right there when I cut it up. I'll get 3 times the money for it. Then, so that's a tough decision to make. Do you sell it to a museum, or do you want 3 times the money?
Right.
And so we do a little of both. The Smithsonian, there's enough out there where, that one's going to get cut. Because would you want 50,000 for it, or would you want 250,000 for it? That's what it'll fetch cut. All right, so move on to the next one. Then just pause.
Specimens in situ?
That's in situ. Yeah. Look at that. That might even be that one.
But that looks as though it's embedded in rock.
It's in clay.
Oh,
See, we've hosed it off. See, this is a muddy.
Oh, okay.
And you see the lepidolite here, the purple lepidolite. That's a dead giveaway. We're about to find lithium silicate gems. Tourmalines are lithium silicates, the kunzites are lithium silicates. So when we find that kind of environment, that's where you're going to find them. And so we've hosed it off just to take photos. So we documented every bit of this. There's a lot of material in the pocket. Okay, switch it to the next one. Okay, that one right there, this one's a terminated one. It's got a termination on it.
I'm sorry.
What does that mean?
That one didn't cleave. See, these are pieces that have cleaved apart. Here we are, when we dig pockets, we take buckets after buckets after buckets after buckets out of the mine, and then we take them up to our washing station and wash them. That's a bunch of little kunzites all over the screen. There's a chunk that would cut a beautiful gem right there. Give you an idea, that colors. The world's best kunzite. It's the world's best kunzite. I go to the gem shows now, and I'm like, hey, you got any of that kunzite? That was a real thrill to find that. The stone is known to have, it's got one of the highest RIs, what they call RIs. Diamond has the highest RI. That's why it's so brilliant. It's a refractive index. Kunzite's way up there, and there's not many things that have a high RI like kunzite. So it just pops your eyes when it's, even in low light, like at night and moonlight, it's just super brilliant. There's some altar, that pink clay is a dead giveaway. This pink clay is a lithium-rich clay. There's some lepidolite, and this is a little bit of uranium actually right in there. That's how these stones got their color. They got exposed to radiation naturally, and the better exposure they got, the deeper the colors are on them. In this day and age, they often take inferior stones and treat them in reactors and stuff from Brazil and places, and they try to make good colored stones. These stones are naturally that color, which makes them phenomenal. Almost every colored stone on the market's been treated in some manner nowadays with either heat, oil infused, radiation. They got a whole bunch of different things they do to enhance their color. So among collectors, when you have natural stones that color, they command the bucks.
So how are they formed naturally, and why is the lithium a guide to that, do you know?
Because what we're looking for are lithium silicate gems.
Okay.
So we need silica and we need lithium for that to even be possible. And even then, it's not a given you're going to find it. But it's possible if you have a silica-rich environment and a lithium-rich environment. And other rare earths, the uranium and different things are, bismuth and stuff is telling us that we have rare earth elements right there. So gemstones are also rare earths, so they're right there with the rare stuff. Pegmatites are mined also for lepidolite for our batteries. That purple rock right there is where they mine that to make our lithium batteries. It's the ore of lithium. There's a fine matrix piece. You would never take that thing and break it up and try to cut a stone out of it. In that case, we're going to get more for it as a collecting piece. Once we get it cleaned up, we'll get that pink clay. It'll all come off that. There'll be this white bladed Clevelandite. That's a nice, what they call a cabinet specimen. It belongs in a mineral cabinet. You're getting it now, huh?
Yeah, gonna be fast though.
The white is Clevelandite that it's in. And with a little work, we get those, a little bit of acid, and then we take a water gun and blast it off. And then we clean them up, and we get them looking pretty nice.
How do you determine whether to keep it whole or to break it up? And
Almost never are we going to break a tourmaline up if it's on matrix. If it's on matrix, if it's more than one species, like these loose tourmaline crystals here, you can go either way with those, but almost never are we going to cut up what we call a matrix piece. Almost never. They're just worth way more to a collector. Because really, we're specimen miners. That's my main thing, is specimens. But that being said, we're gonna find stuff that has to be cut in the process. But really, I'm after the specimens.
Are the watermelons found in the same general vugs?
Yep. Yep. Some have them, some don't. The bicolors, and yeah. It's the weirdest thing. You find them here and over here, they're not. You know, it's strange. It's frustrating. There's a good shot of lepidolite there, and you see the quartz. This is quartz, and you got lepidolite. You got it all going on right there. That's a pretty complex pegmatite. If you're ever out in the field and you see one like that, that's what would be a gem-bearing pegmatite. Many of them, most of them have just a brown mica and a little quartz and a little black tourmaline, and those are simple pegmatites. Those usually don't contain gems. I should have said that at the beginning. Most pegmatites do not contain gems. There's about 400 of them in the Paula district, about 400 pegmatites, and I'd say maybe 30 of those are commercially viable out of the 400, the swarm of 400. And so you got to know which ones to be digging in. And you can just tell by looking, that's mineralized rock right there.
So what do? Your customers come in with a 5-pound sledge and they go over the tailings, or?
No, we bust it up with dynamite pretty good at a depth, and then we take it outside the mine and dump it. And then we have this attachment that goes on our bobcat. It's called a skeleton bucket. It's got 4-inch tines. And what we do is we pick it up and shake it, and all the big rock and stuff, we dump it over here, and then we take the rock and we build rock walls and stuff with it. And stuff that falls through the skeleton bucket, we haul it up and dump it. And we don't search through any of it. So we see crazy things found. That being said, I mean, some days it's better than others, of course. But if you're there at the right day, you're always going to find something, or a few somethings. You're always going to find your money's worth. That's pretty much easy to do. Some people get really lucky. Nice colored tourmaline. There's a pile of kunzite. Not too much of that is even gem quality though. Out of that, you can see how little of it. Anything you mine in the world in terms of gems, you're lucky if you get 1% of its top gem quality material. Doesn't matter what it is, diamonds, emeralds, kunzites, tourmalines, very little of its top gem material. That guy in the middle with the green hat is Roland Reed. He sold me the Elizabeth R mine. He started mining there in '71, and he's in his 80s now, and he's a freak of nature. That guy. He still comes up to the mine and gets in there and digs with us. He's 80-something years old. He gets down there. That guy kept him young all these years. There's one of each, a tourmaline and a kunzite. Wearing gloves, the kunzite pockets, we found out are dangerous to your hand, to your safety. They cut you like razor blades. And it wasn't long after everybody on the mining crew, we went down one by one by one, can't dig anymore. Our hands are just like lacerated. So we have to heal from this. And so you get in there and dig, and pretty soon, oh, I'm going to disable this. Pretty soon the whole team's on the DL. We have to go do something else for a while, heal for a week, and then we can go back and dig because we're just too cut up. It's like digging through glass shards with your bare hands. There's some specimens and things on the screen. There's a morganite. This gem right here I'm pointing to, it's not a very good one, but when they are good, they're beautiful. That gem was first discovered at the Paula Chief II in the Big Pocket, and they were pink beryls. Now the most famous beryls are emeralds, and the next most famous beryls are aquamarines, and pink beryls are morganites. And how it's got its name, when they sent the stuff to Tiffany's in New York City, they had some in the window one day, and J.P. Morgan walks by and sees one in the window, and he was looking for a gift for his wife, and he saw this beautiful pink stone in the window, and said, I want to buy that. What is that? And he said, it's a pink beryl from California. So he bought it, and then next holiday he was in there looking for another one, and he saw another one and bought it. So they started calling it, the employees, they started calling it morganite, because the only customer they had was J.P. Morgan for a while. To this day, it's called morganite. That's the accepted trade name worldwide.
What do you think you paid for that?
God, back in those days, hard to say. They're getting pricey though. A good morganite, I have some. The good morganite's not cheap. So when we do this, it's like opening a treasure chest. It's about 113 million years old. The USGS has told us that this pegmatite is 113 million years old. They did it with zircon dating. Zircons decompose at a known rate, and they actually get the microscopic zircons, and they can dial these things in right down to the 5,000 years. I mean, they're very accurate. So they're saying it's 113 million years these gems were formed ago. And these mines here were before nowadays a lot of colored stones come from Brazil, Africa, big producers, but those weren't until like the 50s and 60s that the Brazilian gem mines were really up and running. A guy I knew, an old guy in Brazil during the war, he was commissioned by the U.S. Navy to go map their mineral deposits because these pegmatites contain strategic minerals. Tourmaline's a strategic mineral. Beryl's a strategic mineral. They get beryllium and different kinds of rare things out of them. So he spent the war mapping the jungles in Brazil, and he found all those gem deposits that now are world producers in Africa and Brazil. The guy's name was Ed Swoboda. He was quite the legend. But before those years, the mines in San Diego were a big part of the world gem trade. Multicolored tourmalines, they change colors. I think I still have that crystal. In a better light, that thing's about 7 colors. I still have that one on the right too. There's a Kunzat mustache. There's Roland Reed. If you read much about mining in San Diego, his name will pop up over and over. Those are my childhood friends right there, and we're still doing it. We're still digging after all these years. We're digging for years together. Darren Fissler, Phil Osborne, long-time gem miner in the area too. Hey, we got through it. You did a good job after that control. Yeah, she learned how to do it. Now I have a couple of stones over here if you guys want to see. This is like before it gets cut. I brought this thing. I've hardly ever showed it to anybody because they go, "I want to buy it." This is about $250,000 worth of kunzite.
Wow.
And you can look at that color. That color is it's like unbelievable. You take this to the GIA or whatever, they're like unbelievable. That's not even, you can't even fake that color. It's natural. I mean, that's what we'll do. The stone has to be cut this way, down the C-axis, and there's a cleavage plane in it all the way through. But other than that, it's pretty darn clean. And that cleavage plane will stay together when they cut this, because the other ones have. This is another variety of kunzite called trifane. Comes in that color as well. This is a pocket we got out of the Paula Chief. This is a more typical color of kunzite. That would be more typical around the world. This would be the exception, not the rule. You go looking for kunzite, you're going to mostly run into that, which is still beautiful, but nothing like that. That's crazy. Bicolored tourmalines. Really, this is what you want in bicolor. You want half, 50-50 distribution of colors. These cut very nice, Jim. There's a bicolor with a green and a blue. In 1914, they found a big pocket in the tourmaline king. They got 6 tons of tourmaline out of it. 6 tons. This crystal was in that pocket, as was this one. This is 2 that I still have in my collection. Look at that color. This is from that 6-ton pocket. These 2 pieces right here. The rest of it mostly has been cut up and distributed, long gone. Here's a morganite on matrix. Cute little barrel crystal on a matrix. I just got a really dandy one the other day with a water bubble in it. It's got a big water bubble. The morganite crystal is about this big. And if you move it around, there's a big bubble of water inside of it. So that's a 113 million year old bubble of water inside that one. I didn't bring that one today. That thing's really neat. Here's a nice piece of lepidolite with a tourmaline stuck to it. They're found right in the proximity of each other. That's some extraordinary lepidolite. It usually doesn't look that good. Anybody? Okay, this is a TV show that we did an episode on. It's going to be out on KPBS called Mineral Explorers. It'll be out this summer when we filmed an episode up at the mine. Except for right now, they're going to come back and film some more because we have a big pocket exposed right now. We just found a big one. And the guys are in there right now, so when I leave here, I'm putting it up there because we have a giant pocket opened up. I don't know what's in it yet, but it's the biggest pocket I think we've ever found. It's 5 feet tall, and I don't know how long yet. We're still trying to expose it, but it's a monster. So if it's got good stuff in it, it's going to be. If it's got good stuff, it's going to be a big time find. Anybody have any questions? I have answers.
Can we come with you?
Yeah. I'd love to, but the Department of Labor will come along and on your tax dollar, and they'll come along and they'll say, where's your steel-toed boots, where's your this, where's your that, where's your certificate of training, where's your Part 48, where's your Part 46, and you'll be like, what? Just go look at a mine?
Tell me, when you look at the color of stones, can you tell where they are mined?
Pretty much, yeah. You show me a specimen, and I'll pretty much tell you where it
I've
came
got one
from.
right here.
Yeah? Let me see it. When they're cutting, they're a little harder. Brazil.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that color's Brazil.
That's a tourmaline, right?
It's a tourmaline, yeah. Yeah. If that were an emerald, that's some serious money there.
I mean,
It's still a nice stone. It's super clear. Yeah, that's a Brazilian tourmaline. We don't quite get that color here.
Could you find it?
Huh?
What is an emerald? I mean,
What is an emerald?
Yeah.
An emerald is a beryl, just like this one. This is a pink emerald. Emeralds are beryls that are rich in chromium. So if the pegmatite contains chromium, you will have emeralds. If it doesn't contain chromium, you won't have. In other words, you can find green tourmalines like that so tourmaline and a beryl are 2 different species. So that's not going to be an emerald. That's tourmaline with the exact same color. But in beryls now, the color aquamarine, emerald, morganite, pink ones. See if I have a good example of a cut stone here of the morganite. They're really nice. I don't know if I brought. Here's some of the tourmaline butterfly wings that we make. Oh, here's a morganite right here. Pass this over. This is a beautiful. This is a gem, a cut gem morganite, and that's not color sensitive, photosensitive. It will not fade.
So you mentioned the GEM Institute. Is that why it's here? Because San Diego's so rich?
That's a big part of it. We do a lot with them. Their students come up all the
I was wondering
time.
if the students come.
Yeah,
up.
we do tours all the time with the students, and yeah, they moved from Santa Monica, wherever they were, not so many years ago. That is, if you haven't been to the GIA, you should go. It's fabulous, fabulous addition to San Diego. The campus is just crazy, amazing.
Are there other areas of San Diego where they are mining, or only in the north?
Mesa Grande, there's a little bit out in Jacumba, but not really commercially mined. It's too hard. Like I said, there's a lot of guys that would want to mine, but they cannot figure out the paperwork.
What is that?
This is a piece of quartz. Gem quality quartz. This is the color of quartz we get up there. It's like a cognac color. It's quite gorgeous. We get this in abundance, so this is not expensive, although it's quite beautiful. In the Paula district, there are 72 mines, and I have 3 of them, and we're the only ones mining because it's so darn hard. There's a lot of guys that wish they could, but the paperwork, like I say, they just kill them with paperwork. They can't figure it out. And so mining nowadays in America is for big mining companies. They have engineers and guys that can figure out how to do the ventilation system. You have to calculate your horsepower with and every man in the tunnel, and you have to come up with this crazy formula how much air you need to blow in the mine, and you have to submit it to them, and they review it, and they decline it or send it back to you. And they don't tell you how to get it in compliance, they just tell you when you're not in compliance. And so it's very frustrating for a small company.
How many times have you wanted to quit?
Lots of times. If I wasn't so deeply invested, it's like I can't turn back, and it's like I'm not going to let them beat me, So they come up and they throw these crazy things at me, where it really is, if you're like one of these big mining companies, they have safety guys, they have mine rescue guys, they have, that's another thing. When they start requiring things that don't exist, that's when I have a problem too. Like they'll say, no, you can't mine anymore because you don't have a real mine safety or mine rescue team down here. Well, it's not my fault we don't have mine rescue teams down here. They just don't have them down here. They have them up in Nevada and places where they mine, but they don't have them here. So we for a while we were using the Montrose, the LA subway guys who would rescue you if you were in the LA subway. 5-man team, totally trained, totally adequate. You'd be happy with them coming rescue you out of the subway. But they're not good enough for mines because you need a 6-man team. Okay, so 6-man team, that 6-man team has to be backed up by another 6-man team. So it's a 12-man situation, and those teams just don't exist here. They do up in Battle Mountain, Nevada, and places where they're still mining gold. So luckily, a friend of mine is the safety manager of Klondike's mine up there, and he's covered us and provided a letter for me that in the event they had to come down here, they would, to do a mine rescue or a recovery. If somebody got killed or something, they would send a team down here. And so far that satisfied them because it's the best option that we have. But just to get that far with them, I had to fight them tooth and nail. I had to lawyer up. I had to do a lot of unfun things that make me wanted to quit. And I'm like, well, it's like, I put it to them this way. It's like, you could get killed on the way home today from this show, right? You could. So give me your driver's license. We're going to make sure nobody gets killed. So you can't drive anymore. It's like so I put to them like that. Until you get a magic carpet ride, until you get a magic carpet, so I know you're going to get home safe, then you can, and they don't exist, right? So then you can transport yourself, but until then you can't go anywhere.
Well, I guess some of that you say it's a business with a lot of bigger operators that can afford a lot of this to conform to this. And that's part of what the competition developed out of? I mean, the bigger ones swallowed up the smaller ones?
No, gem mining is its own funny thing. Like with gold deposits, they core drill it. They get investors' money. They sell stocks. They core drill it. They know we got so many tons of gold over so many. They know what they're going to get before the life of the mine's 20 years, and we're going to extract 2 tons of gold out of this in 20 years. They already know, and so they got a budget. And then they get their engineers. They hire their safety guys, and that's the way that mines are ran today. But the small mom and pop, gem mining's different. You can core drill it and not hit pockets. That doesn't mean you have gems or you don't have gems. You don't know. You have to actually go there and, you have to go there where it's a gem-bearing deposit and put the time in. And sometimes you're gonna get lucky. So they're all mom and pop mines, and so for that reason, the history isn't looking so bright.
History question. There was a story about a guy who was sent by Tiffany and to check out a claim. This must have been in the earlier days. And he posed as a tuberculosis patient to get into the
Oh, you're talking about Tannenbaum.
Tannenbaum and Gray.
Gray, Tannenbaum, yeah, I guess he was an ornery guy, ran them all off with his 30-30 up at Mesa Grande. That occurred in Mesa Grande.
Who ran it?
He was a claim jumper, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
He was from Tiffany?
that's what he said, but I think at the end of the story, I think he was just a claim jumper. I guess he was really ornery, and people were afraid of him. And so they just literally, ran, and abandoned their claims. His name was Tannenbaum. There's a cool book, if you want to learn about early gem mining in San Diego County. There's a book written by a guy named Fred Reinerson. It's called Exploring Gems and Gold in the West, and you can still get it on Amazon. And it's a really cool little read. The guy talks about, him and his buddies took the first car to Mesa Grande. Up until then, it was buckboards and horses. And then they got a big tourmaline strike, and so they got some money, and they bought a car. It was a chain-driven hupmobile, they called it. And so they had to kind of like build their own road as they went. They had to get out and build the road. It's really interesting. And they'd find a dead Indian on the side of the road. Just all kinds of interesting stories from those days, And it was actually written by a guy who was there. And he kept a journal the whole time, about shooting his own ducks for dinner. And really interesting story. Him and his buddies, they found every single mine in this area in those years. They found every single one of them. They were amazing. They would just go out, he talks about it. They went to Paula and they set the place on fire. They burned it all down. And there was nothing out there then. The Indian tribe wasn't there yet. So they didn't move the tribe. Actually, in my mind, the Paula chief was there before the tribe was there. So I got an interesting battle going with the patent office over the use of the Paula chief logo, because actually it predates the Indian reservation, which nobody knows this, but I'm like so.